are back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and Shannon's showing me a marvelous contraption here, invention. It's called the Time Tracker Visual Timer and Clock. And
it's from Learning Resources.
Learning Resources,
and for those of us who, yeah, for those, and I'm setting it so it's gonna make noises.
Okay.
But for those of you who really hate when you have to be prompting your children,
right.
and you're afraid that your children are going to become prompt dependent,
right.
This is a really awesome thing. It can be used in your home. It can be used in a classroom, where it takes the impetus of us reminding them to do something off of us, and it removes it to this, which is a way of stepping down so that eventually they don't need this.
Right.
But it's visual, so you can set. It's a digital thing. You can set the timer. You can. I think I set it so that that it said begin during the break, and that we're on green, and it said begin, right? And then in about 4 minutes here, it's going to light up yellow.
Yellow,
and it's going
to give a warning.
To give us a warning that our time is almost up.
Okay.
We can set it to be silent, and a lot of teachers use these kinds of things in classrooms.
How about for some of us who need some time management?
Well, I mean, honestly, we have a version of this in the studio in my ear.
Right.
That Samantha reminds me, okay, you've got 10 minutes. You guys don't get to hear it, but I get a prompt because I need it. I can't be in here, and I have a clock so that I can keep track, but I get busy and I lose track of myself. So we all need something. Everybody has the Fitbits and they have the Apple Watches that vibrate and do whatever. But this is a very visible thing that you can have in your home. Let's say that you identify that morning is a problem. We're going to talk a little bit about what you've done in the morning. This is just a tool that you can use, that if you know that breakfast is really hard because your child dilly-dallies or whatever, and you're sick and tired of the wampa of you. Right? Instead, you put this on the table, and it reminds them that they go from green to being on yellow to being on red.
It's really cool,
and it's just reminding them your time is about to be up, which is an awesome.
Speaking about tracking time, I was under the impression that my son was way past any type of visual schedules, but we worked with a really terrific OT last summer when we were on vacation, and he said it's all about the schedule, because I was having issues with Wyatt getting ready on time or doing things and being somewhat non-compliant, and he said, I honestly I would really urge you to do a laminated visual schedule for morning, nighttime schedule, and even with his therapist, they write one together. And he takes great joy in writing his schedule when he's in therapy sessions.
Yeah, I love that.
But for the morning now, we have a laminated schedule with dry erase marker. So he's got everything from the minute he wakes up. We have about an hour. So he's got get dressed, walk the dogs, make breakfast, get all his materials ready for school, and then he paints every morning.
Yes.
And that's there, and then walk out the door. So it has really made my life easier, because I can look at it and I have him mark it off. But this is a great way that you can do that.
Well, you can use them together, because you have your visual timer, and then if there's one part where he's just not getting it done, you could set up the timer for that part to say, or for the whole task, that you say, this is when when it's on yellow, we got to be finishing up with this so that we can get out the door. It's just a way of prompting that's kinder, especially for some of our kids who are sensory, but especially when they're teenagers. I know Jem is just like, stop telling me.
Right.
I don't want to hear it.
And you can point to a schedule. That's what I think that I thought. A part of me thought, well, is this backtracking a little bit that we're using visual schedules again? No. And as Alex, the OT, said to me, which he said, don't you make a to-do list at work?
Right.
I mean, you can't think of that as backtracking. No, it's not backtracking. It's doing something that's smart, because they, a lot of our kids respond to these schedules.
Well, and if you think about Stephen Covey and those 7 highly effective habits of highly effective people, that's what I'm trying to say. And they would sell all those Franklin binders. Now we do a lot of stuff on our phone, but a lot of people are going back to a bullet journal, which is like that system, because it keeps you on track. And these are all executive function things. There are some people who are able to keep it all in their head and keep themselves, but they are rare, and we're not friends with them. Let's be honest about that, right? And we don't want to be friends with them.
I can't keep anything in my head, no.
But anything that helps you to be where you're supposed to be, do the things that matter to you, and be able to follow it to fruition, the goals that you set and get them done, that's all executive functions. And if you need things to help you, everybody does.
Right.
So this is just a tool. It's a great tool. And for anybody who feels like they're just, Jem is just sick and tired of me saying stuff to him. He's
like,
I
know why
I remember being that way.
It was a struggle because I was saying, okay, have you put on your tennis shoes yet? Have you brushed your teeth yet? Have you did? And now it's all down, like I said, on one sheet of paper.
Which is so much more age appropriate if you think about it. He's keeping track of it himself.
Exactly. So moms and dads out there, if you have an issue with time management, I urge you to go to this. And how could people get this toy?
So
learning this tool.
And sometimes they sell these in toy stores, actually.
Do they?
But Learning Resources is a great, great company. You can go on their website, learningresources.com, and check out the different things that they have. They have a couple of different ones depending on what you need or what your child will respond to. But this one is called the Time Tracker Visual Timer and Clock. It has a programmable task timer. It has a digital clock, 6 different sound effects that you can pick between. It's got easy to read display, so your child can also, in addition to the green, yellow, and the red, they can be looking at the readout to see what time it is. It's a handy dandy little thing, and it makes a great gift if your child is having a hard time with transitions at school. Great teacher gift. Give this to the teacher as a tool to be able to help them, to help your kid transition. Because I know when Jem was little, the thing where I really went, oh my gosh, I get it. We would be at the pool. And Jem didn't want to get out of the pool, and we have a community
I had that problem
pool.
with Wyatt. I wonder how many other.
Well, they love the pool.
Wyatt would never want to get out, and sometimes I'd have to go in physically and grab him out.
Well, what we did, and the therapists help us to do, was that we started with, okay, it's 10 minutes. We've got 10 minutes before we have to leave, and Jem would have to respond and say, okay. And then it was, and then from 10 minutes, we'd give the 10-minute warning, we give the 5-minute warning, we give the 1-minute warning, and there was a reward that was huge if he got out the first time. There was a smaller reward if he got out the second time, and there was no reward if he got out the third time, or if somebody had to go in, Katie barred the door. We didn't get to that.
Right.
But, and then, so we started out with that when he was like 3. Then by the time he was 4, I found I didn't have to give the 10-minute warning anymore. I just had to give the 5-minute warning, and then I could give the 1-minute warning, and we didn't have to give a reward because, it just didn't matter, right, at that point. And now, we go to the pool, and sometimes I'll say to him, hey, we've got this much more time left, but sometimes I don't.
Right.
And sometimes I'll say to him, hey, we've got 1 more minute, do I have your agreement? Yep. And then we get out. I never have to say anything.
You always ask him if you have his agreement?
Well, he has to say, okay, he has to acknowledge, and then he's agreed to it.
Okay.
Right? He's implicit in it. And we do that with most things that he has to acknowledge, because they get to be teenagers and suddenly they're like, whatever.
Right.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
So anyway, but all these years now, we go to the pool and I'll say, dude, it's time to go, whatever. And he gets out and people go, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
And I always go, well, that took a really long time and we went through the process, but we don't have an issue. But I think one of the biggest things that we did was that there was always a huge reward for getting out of the pool. But we don't anymore. There isn't anymore. But we did that for a really
you faded that out,
long
but
time.
you did it a long time.
We did probably 2 years.
Right.
We did that every single time that there was like a popsicle
That's a
or
good
something or whatever
for people to know.
But this is the same thing.
Right.
Now, I'm sure if I go to the pool with him this summer, he's going to be like, don't do that in front of my friends. And he's like that with everything now. He doesn't want to hear it from me. So this is a great thing if you're, but it's so good in a classroom too as a teacher.
Right.
This is a great tool because you can't constantly, if you've got 35 kids in the classroom, you can't constantly be keeping different timers for all the different kids.
It makes you feel like
on their desk, and when it's turned this way, nobody else is seeing that it's changing colors. It's
You don't want to be felt of as a constant nag, because sometimes I feel like we're going blah 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 blah. So if you guys have any other time management techniques or things that have worked,
We'd
sort
love
of
to hear them.
ABA. But yeah, here, I mean, tell everybody again how they can get in touch with you on the show.
Well, there are lots of different ways. Today there were infinitely less ways, because
Okay.
normally you can get in touch with us on our YouTube channel. You can write in a comment. I would say in general, to write a comment, that's not the best way because it's tied to the video you'd put it with.
Okay.
You can write in on our live feature. I always see that, but today it's down. Normally you can write in on our Facebook, but you can always email me. s.penrod, Penrod, @autism-live.com. You can always, and that way it's completely anonymous, because I won't share who you are unless you say that I can, and you can write as much as you want. You can write me a small novel and tell me what's going on, and I love that. I love to read things from you guys.